A happy weekend. He should race better than that. On that subject, the V8 Supercars are warming up, so let's hear from Lee Diffie, Mark Osler.
Yes, Billy Murph was just actually saying Greg Murphy is in the commentary box. That's what his hotel room looks like. As we have a look at the starting grid for the third and final V8 Supercar race this weekend, Radisich starts from pole, Garth Tander, Russell Ingall, John Faulkner. Keep in mind that this is a rolling start. Gardner, Larkham, Longhurst and SKAIFE.
These are the finishing positions from the race yesterday. Larry Perkins and Jason Bright, Jason BARGWANNA, Neil Crompton, Steve Reed, Glenn Seton, Stephen Richards and Dick Johnson. His last appearance in front of the Queensland crowd, rounding out a magnificent three-decade career.
We had carnage here yesterday on the streets of the Gold Coast because there was a big crash with Stephen Ellery, Craig Lowndes and Garth Tander. Congratulations to the Valvoline Cummins team. They worked overnight to get Tander's car ready as we have a green flag situation. The final V8 Supercar race here in Surfers Paradise. Radisich gets the early jump in this rolling start. Something new, Greg Murphy, that we've seen here at Surfers.
Well, obviously, where they are now coming into the first chicane, we wanted to avoid the carnage we've had in the previous years, and that has happened. Everyone's getting through, although it hasn't avoided the carnage we've had later in the race. A slightly depleted field with Craig Lowndes and Stephen Ellery not starting this race. Their cars too badly damaged from yesterday's incident.
Hear the roar of these V8s echoing off the buildings around this 4.4 kilometre circuit. They make a magnificent noise, those V8s, as they come around the first time. Paul Radisich in command. Great sight.
Well placed in fifth is Wayne Gardner returning to the V8 Supercars. That is a brand new VT Commodore, fresh out of the Perkins Engineering garages at Moorabbin in Melbourne. And Wayne enjoying his time. He will team up with David Brabham for the FAI 1000 in November. It's Radisich, it's Tander, it's Russell Ingall running in Larry Perkins' car from 99. Then it's John Faulkner in the Wins Racing car from Wayne Gardner and Mark Larkham.
Yeah, it's really fantastic. I was hearing that a couple of the number of the IndyCar Champ Car drivers have been looking at these V8 Supercars and saying, how do we compete at Bathurst? What are we going to do to have a drive at Bathurst?
We're not getting my drive, I can tell you that.
Really have captured the imagination of the big American contingent here as they thunder down toward Conrad Jupiter's turn. Hard on the brakes. Wayne Gardner well positioned at the moment in the McDonald's Coca-Cola Commodore.
Brakes have been a real issue this weekend. A lot harder on brakes this year for some reason. A lot of guys complaining about running out. Russell Ingall yesterday, he dropped off the field as he has a look at Garth Tander now, and he said he lost all his front brakes, was really struggling into the chicanes. It's pretty hard around here on the brakes. You don't get a lot of time to cool them down. A lot of chicanes slowing down from high speed, so it really does punish the car.
Now, we mentioned earlier that Russell Ingall is competing in Larry Perkins' car that he campaigned all this year. Larry is in a brand new VT, along with Gardner, of course, down into turn one. Garth Tander running second from Radisich in the older model EL Falcon. They're saving their AU XR8s for Bathurst. The FAI 1000, November 13, 14. And Radisich is on the way to a clean sweep here on the Gold Coast.
So I'll tell you what, Ford Motor Company could certainly use a win, but a pretty dismal season in terms of race performances, absolutely dominated by the Commodores this year. So Ford will be hungry for a win here, particularly at the all-important FAI 1000 at Bathurst on November 14. The only 1,000-kilometre race in the country for the big V8 cars. It's going to be one heck of a weekend.
Greg Murphy, you might like to explain why you're up here with us and not out on the track.
Yeah, well, same reason probably that Paul Radisich is running the older EL Falcon. He's lucky enough that he did have a spare car sitting in the workshop. Our VT Commodore sitting back in Melbourne at Dandenong in the Gibson Motorsport workshop, ready for the FAI 1000. We do want to run it this weekend. As we can see yesterday, there was a fair few incidents, and we're just trying to avoid that.
Don't forget you can stay up to date with all the information on the Network 10 website, www.10.com.au, and we have hot links to the required sites. You can stay in touch with everything here at the Honda Indy 300 in 1999. Look at this. Larkham is working the back of Wayne Gardner. Longhurst is queuing up. A couple of Gold Coast residents there. Then Mark SKAIFE and Jason Bright in the TICKFORD.
This race very important to Wayne Gardner. He said he wanted to get out and do some competition before he goes to Bathurst in 4 weeks' time. He said the biggest transition, the difficulty he's had, is changing from the Japanese GT car he drives throughout the year. It's got ABS or anti-lock brake system, so Normally where he'd be braking at about an 80-metre mark in an ABS car, in the Commodore he has to brake at about 200 metres, and he's got sucked in a number of times, but he's just starting to get the feel for it now.
Car's going remarkably well. He's obviously only done a small test session with it, and you can see he's really pushing hard, running fifth. Him and John Faulkner have done a great job to move up the field in the last couple of days, staying out of trouble. So good to see these guys having a good run in the preparation build up to Bathurst.
The Mitre 10 Ford of Mark Larkham. There were happier times last year. Larkham won here on the streets of Service Paradise. He's been working a little bit harder in 99. But Gardner is doing well. His first drive out in this brand new VT. He and David Brabham tested several weeks ago at Winton. We saw Wayne down at Phillip Island Motorcycle Grand Prix, and he said things are going well. He was smiling. He said Brabham adapted to the car just brilliantly. He said he was very impressed with David's level of professionalism. And don't forget, both these guys running an international GT Sports Car Series as Longhurst looks for an option on Larkham, and SKAIFE is looming in the background also.
So the order at the moment, Radisich, Tander, Ingle, you can throw a blanket over those leading three. John Faulkner back and forth, Wayne Gardner fifth, Larkham, Longhurst, big challenge there from the Castrol Ford. SKAIFE, Bright, Perkins rounds out the top 10, Neil Crompton in 11th.
Len Seton way back in 14th position. He's probably not the largest fan of this street course and isn't going to do anything to damage the AU XR8. Keep in mind that they are running both cars at the FAI 1000. Seton and Crompton in one, and Jeff Brabham and Neil Bates in the other. Tony Longhurst in the Castrol Ford continues to pressure Mark Larkham.
Well, fastest lap yesterday, a new lap record, in fact, set by Stephen Ellery, a 1:54.41. Paul Radisich is just at a 1:54.8. So they're about 0.4 of a second away from lap record pace. Radisich really pushing hard at the front.
That car that Stephen Ellery was driving yesterday, and obviously had that crash with Craig Lowndes and Tander. That is Mark Larkham's car from last year, which obviously he won 2 races here on the Gold Coast. So fairly ironic that car, because he likes this place, and Stephen was doing a great job before coming adrift into the second chicane and hitting the tyres. It was a fairly large crash.
We almost got through a race, didn't we, without any carnage?
Well, Craig Lowndes is...
Look at this.
Mark SKAIFE.
On the inside, he's got Tony Longhurst.
Now watch Longhurst now try and swap over the other way. Jason Bright's going to take advantage of this. No, Longhurst now under brakes. Now SKAIFE will swap back again.
Oh!
Turned him around.
Longhurst has given it to Mark SKAIFE, and now they lose so many positions. SKAIFE can't go anywhere, and he has indeed trapped Tony Longhurst
there, trying to get reverse to turn. Obviously going to make sure that he doesn't steer in front of someone's car. But it's a classic example around these streets of the 90-degree corners. SKAIFE went down the inside of Longhurst. Longhurst thought, I'll get the swap over effect on him. Come back the other side, tried to do that. But SKAIFE was trying to cover his line, turned in, and here we go. At the back of the grid, or back of the field.
That didn't sound too healthy. It
looked like he couldn't get first.
Yeah.
He's starting in a lower gear.
Trying to pick up first gear and smoke him up to drive away, but it just didn't respond at all.
Clutch might have had a bit of a spin there, and he's away again now, but not much point in pushing too hard to the back of the field.
If you've just joined us on your home of Motorsport Network 10, Craig Lowndes not running today. Here is the Integra Type R replay.
Well, Longhurst was well alongside. SKAIFE probably didn't expect him to be so far up. He's turned into the corner, and really, I suppose Tony had nowhere to go. It was a fairly tight one there, and Bridie did make the most out of that one.
Well, he was right alongside the B pillar, and by the V8 Supercar Code of Ethics, as I understand it, Greg Murphy, that's your corner if you're that far in.
It's a hard one. Obviously, it's a short run between those two corners up into second gear, and obviously SKAIFE was trying to make sure Tony didn't get back alongside him. So yeah, racing one.
Let's not take anything away from this guy. Number 18, the Shell Helix Ford of Paul Radisich leads the Gary Rogers Valvoline Cummins VT Commodore of Garth Tander. Radisich said this year he wanted to win V8 Supercar races. He's a 2 times World Touring Car Cup champion. He's got some brilliant credentials, and he still says this is the toughest championship he has ever driven in. It took him by surprise. He thought he may have had success quicker than what he has. And here it is. He gets his first V8 Supercar win on the streets of the Gold Coast. He backed it up again yesterday afternoon, and he is heading for 3 from 3, a clean sweep. something the Shell Helix team hasn't seen since the days of 94 and 95 with John Bowe.
This kind of track really does suit Paul Radisich's style. He loves these street circuits, loves thrashing over the curbs, and he's a real street fighter. He gets right into it. He just suits this kind of stuff, so he's doing a great job and obviously enjoying it racing here on the Gold Coast.
Tell you what, it does look funny, doesn't it? You got Ford's older EL Falcon beating 3 of the new VT Commodores from Holden. The old car's still got plenty of life with him.
Don't give them any ideas, Mark.
I was going to say, we're going to see a few more EL Falcons on the track next year.
All turning up at the FAI 1000 and old EL Falcons.
Russell Ingall holds a steady third in the Castrol Commodore. It's a shame for Stephen Ellery, who isn't racing today along with Craig Lowndes. They had that accident yesterday afternoon. Both got away okay. Lowndes is all right, but Ellery has a sore hand. But it's not necessarily from the race crash. Greg, you might like to explain.
There's a little bit of an incident after their crash at the second chicane yesterday. The two intervention vehicles arrived at the same time, and I don't think they saw each other, and there's a bit of a crash there. And then one of them seemed to, I think it ran into Stephen Ellery trying to get out of the way as he was walking through to try and get through the fence and out off the circuit. So injured his hand, and he was in a little bit of agony yesterday.
Poor old Steve's got a couple of, the word is a couple of busted fingers. That's about all. Let's hope that mends in time for the FAI 1000. It's pretty cruisy up front though. Radisich is doing it comfortably from Tander, and a long interval back to Russell Ingall in third.
Yeah, they've really pumped it out. 2.1 seconds the gap over Russell Ingall.
It looks as though also that Radisich is taking it quite easy. Tander's not making much inroad there, and Paul's driving fairly smoothly. It doesn't look like he's got any pressure on him. So, there's Dick Johnson coming into the pits. He's got a problem, I think, obviously.
Yeah. Well, it's a real shame. This is his last appearance in front of his home crowd. Tremendous career. Multiple Bathurst winner, multiple Australian touring car champion, Sandown 500 winner. He's won it all in touring cars. And at 54 years of age, the FAI 1000 of Bathurst will be the last appearance for the great man. A true champion, but things not going his way today.
Well, last time round, Garth Tander, as Dick Johnson pulls in and turns the engine off. Garth Tander set a new lap record, a 1:54.23. So the 22-year-old Valvoline Cummins driver is on the move. His seat way back in the pack, ahead of Stephen Richards in the older model VS Wins Racing Commodore. That's Jason Bargwanna, just ahead of Seton. That's well back in 10th, Seton 11th, Richards is 12th.
Those guys at the front of the field are really flying. The track is obviously in a really good condition. The temperature outside is, I think, a bit cooler than yesterday, and all 3 of the front runners were under the lap record set yesterday by Stephen Ellery, so they're really on a move at the moment.
Here's your teammate, Greg.
Stevie.
As we ride now with Glenn Seton in the Ford Tickford Racing AU XR8. He's having a little look down there as come down the main straight through the chute. This gives you a terrific perspective on the concrete jungle that the drivers have to tackle.
I think Glenn's probably treating this weekend as a little bit of a test session and working with the car. Obviously, he doesn't want to get in trouble with it and find it getting damaged. He has had a disastrous time here over the last few years.
Right there on that corner.
Absolutely, yeah. Exactly. So it's pretty important that he just keeps it off the walls. And Jason Bargwanna similarly. I mean, he hasn't been on the pace too much this weekend, falling back, and Garth Tander's sort of been up the front and showing the way for the Valvoline Cummins team.
Well, Glenn Seton currently circulating in 11th position as Radisich leads the way from Tander, Ingall, Faulkner and Gardner. They are your top 5. Larkham, Brighton, Crompton hanging in there in the top 8. We go back and we take a look at the top privateer. It's Steve Reed running in 13th position. More on the other side of this break. Welcome back. You're watching the V8 Supercars at the 1999 Honda Indy 300. It is on. The pressure's on. Garth Tander moments ago was all over the back of Paul Radisich, and Russell Ingall has come up into the equation as well. It's now a good, close 3-car battle. Now, while one of the Shell Helix cars is doing well out in front, the other not so good. Barry's down in the pits with Dick Johnson.
DJ, what's happened?
One of the younger talents sort of clobbing me in the back and broke a rear axle for me.
It hasn't been your year, DJ, has it?
No, it certainly hasn't at this point in time, Baz, but it's rapidly coming to an end, I see.
Bathurst. The Bathurst is going to be your one, DJ.
Well, let's put it this way. When I get to Bathurst, hopefully I'll be that far in front they won't be able to run into me.
Best of luck, DJ.
Thanks, mate.
Once again at the FAI 1000, he teams with his son Stephen, who is like a jack in the box at the moment. He can't wait to get back in the car, and he's been annoying the hell out of Dick, so we wish them well.
You can see Dick talking about that the other day. He said, oh, God, he's a pain in the neck. We can't get him away from the car.
These guys, Russell's actually the fastest one out of these three at the moment. The guys have dropped off. Tander was well over a second slower than his last lap. As we look at the replay now of what happened earlier, Tander coming down the outside, runs into the back of Radisich. A little bit of damage to the front of the Valvoline Cummins Commodore, but then seemed to lose a little bit of a gap there as we see Richards now coming down the inside of Glenn Seton. Sideways, Steve's very late on the brakes. Look at that slide. And cross the grass. It's not the way quite to do it, but
good way to get a black flag.
Good way to get a black flag. Radisich seems to have pulled out just a little bit of a gap again over these guys, so we'll see if he can catch him.
Speaking of stop-go penalties, apparently Neil Crompton has received one for jumping the chicane, jumping the curb, so we'll square off on him when he comes up into the commentary box later for that one. Lap 10 of 14. It is still Radisich leading from Tander and Russell Ingall, your top three. Faulkner is fourth. Gardner is still maintaining fifth. The Mitre 10 Ford of Larkham is sixth. From Bright, Perkins, Bargwanna and Seton, your top 10.
Wonder if Tander's lining up for another attack move.
He lost his rhythm there, it seems, for a minute, and now he seems to just be slowly clawing his way back in. Russell was the quickest, as I said, out of those three. And the tyre situation, I'm sure, and the brake situation is playing a massive part on how these guys, their performance is going. Probably the brakes is probably the bigger one. And as we said before, everyone was struggling yesterday with the brakes, so it's a bit cooler today, so they've lasted a bit longer, and the lap times have shown that.
It's been a very impressive run by car 46, John Faulkner, just ahead of this car, the Coca-Cola McDonald's VT Commodore of Wayne Gardner. Both of those guys have stayed out of trouble this weekend on the streets of Surfers Paradise. It's been a good, solid run. Faulkner will, as he did at the Queensland 500, team up with young Kiwi Simon Wills for the 1,000-kilometre race at Mount Panorama. We look forward to that as they come on down into this succession of chicanes on the front straight. And Russell Ingall has got past, or is that further back in the pack? That's further back. That is Larry Perkins ahead of Bargwanna. No, it's not.
No, that's
that isn't.
That's second.
Right. Trying to pick the numbers, it was a little difficult there. Russell has got past Garth Tander.
Well, that was a bit strange there because I think, Garth's got a problem.
Yeah.
I think he's got either a flat spot on that tyre. It's picking up, or it's flat. I think it's actually flat. It's got a puncture.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, it's got a puncture.
Oh, it's slowly deflating.
Yeah, no, he's definitely got a major problem. So that's the end of Garth's race. And he'll actually be lucky to get back to the pit side, so.
And that came about, obviously, from where he hit Radisich earlier.
Damaged
the front left.
Yeah, let's hope he...
Oh, no!
Oh, I was going to say...
Oh, it's not going to turn right.
I was just going to say, let's hope he can limp it back to the pits and not damage the front of the car again.
That car was not going to turn right.
Oh, dear, oh, dear.
And the team who worked all through the night, John Finozzo, Mike Exel, and the whole guys, they had to fix a front-end problem from the collision yesterday. Tander was in the wrong place at the wrong time and crunched Lowndes. And now that front end that they fixed overnight is damaged again.
That's a little nasty too. It's not. It wasn't just a small hit. The concrete does not give way very well at all. So that's a real shame about that.
The thing is, when you bend these cars, I mean, you think about it, might look quite spectacular, but you think about a team manager has to fund the repair of these cars.
Well, as I was talking to Jeff Gretsch before, and that crash yesterday with Craig Lowndes' car, that's going to be about a $40,000 exercise to fix that. Now, they don't just have that money floating around to fix these cars. They've got to run. They've got the FAI 1000 to go, and that's a very expensive exercise. $40,000 just to have to find and fix another car is not the thing to do.
Now people can say, oh yeah, well, very well, it's an old VS Commodore, it's their spare car, but
very expensive piece of equipment still, and you can't just leave it sitting there a rotting heap. You've got to fix it. So you've got to consider all these aspects of it, and that VT Commodore of Garth Tander's is going to need a little bit more work.
Pressure off Paul Radisich, 2.7 seconds the gap he has over Russell Ingall in the Castrol Commodore. John Faulkner now moves up to third with Wayne Gardner in his mirrors. This is the battle for third position, and Gardner is doing a fabulous job in this car. Just imagine we saw Gardner leading the 1997 1,000-kilometre race at Bathurst with Neil Crompton before they had an engine failure. This guy certainly has the ability to lead that race. This car's reliable. He's certainly got a great co-driver in David Brabham. They could be one of the dark horses up there.
Well, Wayne feels that since he's been driving overseas, don't forget he raced at the 98 Le Mans 24-hour. He's been doing the Japanese GT sports car series for the past couple of years. He picked up his maiden win a couple of months ago. He feels as though he's a more well-rounded driver. He's come back with a positive frame of mind. He's smiling. He's very pleased with his new car. And we see our race leader, Paul Radisich, has dropped out.
Dick Johnson's in the pit, so that must be Paul Radisich.
That hands the lead to Russell Ingall.
And it also puts John Faulkner up in the second place, Wayne Gardner third.
Wow. Radisich problems on the back straight. Can't tell you as to why at the moment. Our race leader, Paul Radisich, will not get the clean sweep. He won't make it 3 from 3. This is the new second place. John Faulkner, Wayne Gardner, and the Mitre 10 Ford of Larkham is in fourth.
You've seen some problems with the reliability of the Fords this year in critical situations. Now there's car 18.
Oh, hold on.
I think that might have been Dick Johnson came back onto the circuit.
Has to be.
So they probably brought Dick back onto the track because Radisich is flying.
There he is. He's come back. It's flipped our timing monitor, and Radisich has come through. That is him. He still leads from Russell Ingall.
I can't understand why Dick would be back out there if he had a broken axle, so that's a bit strange.
Yeah, because he said they broke his rear axle. Maybe it wasn't broken.
Yeah.
So Dick's out there limping around in his last few laps in front of the crowd. I was going to say the Fords have had some problems with reliability this year in critical situations. The one most prominent was Jason Bright in the Queensland 500. Those guys haven't had an engine problem all year. They had a massive engine blow up there when in a position they were poised to pounce.
John Faulkner hasn't had a great year, and it's great to see him up there running third, also trying to keep that car nice and straight. That's his race car for the FAI 1000.
Looks like Neil Crompton's in trouble there too, limping around the circuit.
Well, he had that stop-go penalty as well, so he put him way back.
Remember last year, Crompton was heading towards his first V8 supercar win here at the Gold Coast.
Broken bolt in the rear suspension.
Let him down, didn't it?
Yep.
1 and 2, Radisich and Ingall.
Look at Russell. He is absolutely flying. You can see Radisich ahead of him. The gap's really come down. And I think you can probably sense that it could be an opportunity. He was nearly a second faster that last lap around. He's got the lights on, and he's got a couple of laps to go to have a crack at Paul Radisich.
Let's not forget, Russell put in a brilliant drive at the Queensland 500. He is one of the main Shell Championship Series contenders. This, of course, isn't a championship round. The final round will be at the FAI 1000, November 13 and 14. He did the majority of the work up at Willowbank with 1 lap remaining. He qualified the car. Something different, he started the car. Larry Perkins did the middle stint and Russell finished it, and they took the checkered flag with a clear track ahead. Radisich is on his way home now to make it 3 starts, 3 wins.
Not a lot of time left for Russell to get that gap back. Still about a second there, so Russell's going to have to do something pretty spectacular, and Paul to let him pass is going to have to make a big mistake. So I think looks like the Shell Ford has got this under control. So look at Tony Longhurst coming underneath Rodney Forbes. This is going to end in tears, I suspect. Wow. Yep. That's nice. Pirouette.
Synchronised spinning.
Yes.
It's going to be an event at the Olympics in 2000.
It's at the first of the chicanes on the back straight, the Queensland chicane.
Tender's car should be just over on the corner there, so... Oh, SKAIFE goes through.
Longhurst gets started first. Rodney Forbes sitting there. Well, Paul Radisich has been most outstanding this weekend.
He's done a great job, hasn't he?
Yeah.
The Integra Type R countdown to the big race. 1999 Honda Indy 300 is under an hour and a half away.
Ominous clouds gathering a little bit further down the coast there. That's not a sign of things to come. Paul Radisich been most impressive since he had some big shoes to fill too. When he took over from John Bauer in the Shell team this year, had a very difficult, very steep learning curve. A lot of the tracks he's never driven on this year. He's up against drivers who've driven there many, many times. It's taken him a while to come to grips with the sheer mass and the behaviour of these big 600 horsepower V8s. But now he's obviously very much on top of the job.
He is a Gold Coast resident, Kiwi born, but now lives in Queensland, and he makes it 3 starts, 3 wins at Service Paradise. Well done, Paul Radisich. Takes the checkered flag. Russell Ingall, a close second. It was only 1 second gap between them at the end, but a very cruisy victory And a much-needed win to the Shell Helix team. John Faulkner will finish third. Well done in the wins race in Commodore. And behind him, Wayne Gardner, a very solid weekend's work in fourth. Russell Ingall there. For once, he finishes the Gold Coast without a bent car.
Well, Larry will be happy with that, won't he?
Yeah. They get to save some pennies and some hard work in the lead-up to the FAI 1000. But Radisich is the man. The Rat has struck back. Top privateer will be Steve Reed, finishing in 11th. Overall, as we check the final placings, Radisich, Ingall, Faulkner and Gardner. Mark Larkham held there for a steady fifth from fellow Gold Coaster Jason Bright, Larry Perkins and Jason Bargwanna. More on your home of motorsport right after this. This is Honda Indy 300.